Welcome back. WeArEuS, and this is the Forgotten City. Now, in case you forgot, the last thing we did in the previous episode was we spoke to, I think it was Fabius? No, Rufius. Weird. Where? Oh, you. Yeah, so we spoke to Rufius, and so we know he's the one that's been harassing Virgil. Unfortunately, we haven't actually, as you can see here, we haven't actually resolved the issue. Rufius is still antagonistic, shall we say. Maybe we could report to Sentius and see what he'll do about it. So that's what I think we'll go and do. Okay, so he's definitely this way, yeah. Who knows? This is probably not the play because
Citizen?
I have no idea how he's actually going to go about dealing with it. Maybe we should talk
Do
to.
you have any news about your investigation?
Maybe it would be wiser to talk to Virgil first instead. Let's see if this has anything.
Ask then.
But I went. Didn't we check last episode for where? Yeah, Virgil isn't at home, and he isn't in the marketplace either. And this is an issue I don't want to put off because I know, or at least I fully expect it to escalate. But the Whisperer also told me, or mentioned, the priestess, who I believe is this person. So let's see.
Arve,
Let's see what kind of trouble I get into after talking to her.
a new face. Arve, and may Vesta watch over you. I'm Equitia. To what do I owe the pleasure of this visit?
Well, as always, let's find out what her story is.
Oh my. I take it people are quite direct where you're from. I suppose it's quite charming in its own way. Usually, however, you wouldn't simply march up to a Vestal priestess and without due formality or courtesy ask, "What is your story?"
Yeah, well, we really don't have the time to do that whole dance. You guys could die, frankly, just...
Ah, a fellow traveler from a faraway land.
That's Georgius, right? Anyway, we really don't have the time to do the song and dance that you apparently so desperately desire, but let's actually just go ahead and pretend like we care. It'll grease the wheel, so to speak. Sorry, what should I have done?
The proper approach would be to arrange an introduction through a mutual acquaintance in high office, by which time you would already know how to address me. And then we would find a way to satisfy your curiosity rather more indirectly. But to be honest, I've often thought what an unnecessarily formal way to communicate that is. So, let's do it your way. You just keep being yourself and ask whatever you like. It'll be a refreshing...
Yeah, let's go with that. So, how did you end up here?
You know, I'm not entirely sure. But what about you? How did you end up here?
Wait, hold on. No matter what, everyone knows how they got here. Even if Georgius, if that's the guy's name, the guy who just walked past, his story was he got drunk and woke up here. At least he's got information leading up to having gotten drunk. But how are you just not entirely sure? So that's suspicious. Anyway, to answer her question, a young woman named Karen pulled me out of a river and, without consideration for my condition, sent me in here.
Karen, you say? And nothing about that name seemed odd to you?
What exactly would seem odd about that name? And nothing about that name seemed odd. Like, I definitely don't see where this is going. I don't understand what she's trying to get at here. And none of these responses is going to get me that information, is it? Curious. Nevertheless, we do have to choose something to respond with, and yeah, we'll go with this one. It's an older name, but not uncommon where I'm from.
Older. I see. I wonder if... No.
What were you going to say?
I apologize. I don't mean to be cryptic. It's just that you've got me thinking. Have you spoken with any of the others about how they arrived here too?
Yeah.
I really think you should. Go around and ask them what they remember and see if you notice any...
I'm fully aware of the pattern that she's talking about. The river Tiber.
Good. Thank you. But please be careful. don't want to see what happened to Livia happen to you, too.
Excuse me? First off, what happened to Livia?
Up until a few weeks ago, she was a perfectly productive member of our little community, darning clothes and cutting hair. She was always so chatty, always seeking out newcomers and asking them where they were from and how they wound up here. And then, about a month ago, she suddenly changed. She withdrew, stopped working and became despondent, started muttering to herself. WeArEuS and I visited her to see how we could help. But she just looked at us with this haunted stare, called us bloodless shadows, and told us we were ignorant of some pattern. Look, it could be unrelated. Perhaps she simply fell ill. Or, as WeArEuS suggested, the weight of the golden rule was too much for her. But there is a small chance that she learned something, saw a pattern nobody else saw, and that it broke her. I just don't want to see that happen to you. So be careful, will you?
But I've already noticed a pattern.
You have? Then what is it?
A coin. Yeah, there's definitely memory lapses between what happened once they entered the river and woke up on the river bank, let's say. First off, some people mentioned a river.
Yes, I understand many of our friends were carried here by a river current. What else?
Some of them mentioned also encountering a stranger out on the riverbank once they woke up.
Yes, I also had such an encounter. What else?
Some people mentioned memory lapses.
That's true. I know I wasn't entirely sure how I wound up here. It's as I feared. I think I understand what poor Livia has been going through. You mentioned earlier you met a young woman in the forest named Karen, yes?
Yes?
I see. And was this Karen, by any chance, wearing a hood?
She was wearing a hoodie. How could you have known that?
Because I've seen her before. There's something I think you should see. I think you'd better follow me to the baths.
Alright, I'll meet you there.
But don't follow too closely. We can't have people thinking we're bathing together. Citizens, it is time. Let us meet to elect our magistrate.
Also, this is an issue because we don't want Malleolus to become the magistrate, and the only way I can think of to prevent that is to figure out what happened to Sentius's daughter. But yeah, this is definitely the way to the baths. Except it's not. The baths are that way. What? Oh. Hello there.
Hello? Hello?
Hey buddy, what's your story?
My name's Dooley. I live here now because I got in trouble and they said they had to lock me up.
And what is it that you did?
I don't know. I don't remember things so good. I think it's just because I was looking for treasure.
Did someone think you were going to steal?
Yes. But I wasn't. I was just looking.
Really?
They said I did it. More than once. But I can't remember things so good. Then they called me mean names. They called me a liar, Billy.
Oh, a liability.
Yes. They said I have to live here now. And gave me this letter. But I'm not good with words. Do you think you could read it for me?
Sheesh. Okay. Letter from Sentius to Dooley. Magistrate Sentius to Dooleus. I am writing to you in relation to your incorrigible antisocial behavior arising from your obsession with an alleged lost treasure. While I'm sympathetic to your plight and the passing of your guardian Hannibal some weeks ago, I wish to impress upon you an important message. The treasure you seek does not exist. Given your memory limitations, it seems likely you simply misremembered. More importantly, since you have on several occasions been caught trespassing, including around the cisterns, which are strictly off limits to all citizens, I have reluctantly come to the conclusion that you are a liability to this community and must have your freedom limited, lest you break the golden rule. It is my hope that this letter will assist you to remember why you are incarcerated should you experience further lapses in memory.
What does it say?
It says they caught you trespassing several times and they locked you up to stop you from breaking the golden rule.
My treasure.
What treasure?
My friend Hannibal used to look after me. He said he always would. But then, he died. It was very sad. He said if anything ever happened to him, I had to find something very precious hidden away. He gave me this key and made me promise to keep it safe until I found the treasure. But I couldn't find it. All I remember is he said something about the cisterns, but when I went up to the high one, they put me in here. Now nobody looks after me, except my friend Galerius and Ek, the priestess lady. She's a nice lady.
The many shall suffer for the sins of the
Crap. I don't even know what triggered it.
Save yourself!
Dang it. Ah. So, the one thing I did notice is that let me think. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Curious. Well, this is a new option, so we're going to go with this and see what comes of it. Hilarious. Anyway, I'm Milas, and I need you to take care of some things urgently.
Oh, sounds serious. I'm listening.
I need you to stop Fabia entering the empty shrine and tell the new arrival he'll find what he's looking for in there.
Alright, let me see. Stop Fabia going in, but send the new arrival to the empty shrine. Understood.
Alright? That's it. Now go as fast as you can.
I'll go, but once I'm done, I'll need you to tell me how you know all of this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll definitely be around to have a needless conversation with you. Okay. It'd be a lot easier.
Ixion,
Livia, this is the one the priestess told us about.
just as the ocean accepts the rivers of all the world, so this place accepts all the souls. But it does not notice the crowds that come.
Can you tell me about the pattern you saw?
You think you wish to know, but you do not. It is better for you if you remain ignorant. Pandora's box must stay closed. I'll say no more.
Okay. So, what do you think of the Golden Rule?
The bloodless shadows. This is their punishment.
I have no idea what that means. I have an idea, but it's not much of anything right now.
They never do.
Do you know a way out of here?
There is only a downward path, gloomy with fatal yew trees. It leads through dumb silence to the infernal regions.
Understood. So, what is your story exactly?
The bloodless shadows wander without flesh or bone. Some crowd the forum, some the house of the ruler of the depths. Others follow their trades, imitating their previous lives.
Do you need help of some sort?
Help me? You cannot help me. I have seen things. A pattern, a terrible pattern. It is better for you if you remain ignorant. Pandora's box must stay closed. I'll say no more. The newly arrived are ignorant of the road before them.
Okay, now, we don't know exactly what happened at the... We still have the bow? Yeah. So we don't know exactly what happened at the election. Are we going the right way? No. This is definitely not it. It's this way.
Fear is proof.
Now, this was the name I saw shouting right before people started getting turned to gold. I'm not sure if I've met everyone here yet. Well, let's go ahead and tab so I don't lose time. This guy shouted, "Die, old man," right before things went pear-shaped. So at the very least, he is a problem. Oh, right, and we need to talk to the priestess about Livia. Of course, we already know why she's acting strangely. So I don't know why that isn't already marked, but apparently we have to do it again. Well, we have to speak to the priestess anyway. And since we messed up when we talked to this other guy, let's get to him first. I apparently don't need to report to Cynthius when I come back, so that's not a concern.
Name's WeArEuS. Better watch your step.
Okay, we already know he's the one threatening. I found an incomplete letter to him in your quarters.
Yes, so what? What are you going to do about it?
Look, I'm just asking you to stop threatening him.
And why should I? The one true God says that for man to lie with another man is an abomination. His presence here is a threat to us all.
If that's true, why hasn't the golden rule been broken already?
Well, I don't know. Maybe God hasn't noticed yet. But when he does, we're going to have a problem.
The gods of Rome don't care about homosexuality. Why would they care about Virgil?
There's only one true God. And he laid waste to Sodom and Gomorrah because of exactly this kind of thing.
Okay, so now that we've taken a different path and trying to convince him to stop harassing Virgil, we have these two options. We can go with the first one, which I'm already liking, or the second one. How do you think the magistrate would react? Rufus, do me a favor. Can you remind me, who was it that said, "Do unto others as they would do unto you"? I'm a little foggy on that part.
I am doing that. If I was about to get everyone else killed, I would want someone to stop me.
So at the very least, it seems like all Rufus here is trying to do is make sure that Virgil doesn't do anything that could get them all killed or turn to gold. So he probably won't actually do anything, but there's really no reason for him to go about harassing Virgil then, is there? That said, I tried compassion last time and that got us nowhere. So this time, and right now that I think about it, we have until night for the election, so we've got to figure out how to swing things Cynthius's way before then. But as for this issue, we tried compassion last time. Let's try to use a little bit more force this time. How do you think the magistrate would react if he knew you were a cultist?
I don't like where this is going.
Leave Virgil alone. or I'll out you to everyone. Simple as that.
I have no idea what you're talking about. But unless you want your jaw broken, I think it's best if you don't ever talk to me again.
Well, that probably was not the way it needed to go. But while we have the opportunity, let's go ahead and talk to Virgil.
Ah, a new face. Salve, and welcome to our little community.
Okay.
Nice to talk to you.
Now, since we weren't actually at the election, I have no idea what happened. So I need to focus on what I can do right now. And what I can do right now is talk to the priestess. Okay, we'll go ahead and mention, well, there's nothing I can do here that involves bringing up Livia. So, we'll first start off with what she thinks about the Golden Rule.
I'm quite sure it's the work of the gods, which is strange because they've never been particularly concerned with our misdeeds, as long as we've kept the peace of the gods. We ask for blessings, for good health, bountiful harvest, military victory, and in return, we offer praise, wine, incense, or animals. But here, it seems they require much more of us. I find myself reminded of an especially pertinent tale from our great poet Ovid in his epic Metamorphoses. Would you like to hear it? It is rather long.
Sure, why not?
Wonderful. It goes like this. Baucis and Philemon were an old married couple living a humble life in a small town. One night, the town gets a visit from a couple of vagrants. They go from door to door, asking for a place to stay the night. Of course, being vagrants, they're turned away sharply from house after house, 1,000 in all. Until finally they come to the little cottage where Baucis and Philemon lived. Now the kind old couple had very little to offer, but nevertheless, they invite these strangers into their house and offer them food, wine, and a place to stay. Immediately the guests make themselves at home. They begin gulping down the old couple's wine, so much so that Baucis, the old lady, begins to worry they're going to run out. And then she notices something strange. Her wine pitcher keeps refilling itself, as if by magic, realizing only a select few possess such powers. Says to her husband, Philemon, "I think these men are gods in disguise." Immediately the couple begins apologizing for offering such coarse wine. And the vagrants metamorphosize and reveal themselves to be Jupiter, the king of the gods, and Mercury, the trickster god. They confide they didn't mind the meager offerings. They were just pleased that someone in the town offered them hospitality. Then Jupiter says to them, "You have passed our test, but everyone else in this city failed, so we are going to destroy this place and everyone in it, except you, who we will grant a wish." So old Baucis and Philemon escape up into the mountains safely, and they receive their wish, which is for eternity together. Meanwhile, Jupiter carries through with his threat and wipes that city off the map. Some say the moral of that story is that we must all honor the sacred rituals of guest friendship, the reciprocal obligations owed between hosts and guests. But I like to think it's that we should always show compassion for those less fortunate than ourselves.
I have to say this is it's a little over the top, but it's fair as a response, of course. Yeah, but I see no real reason to break her brain with that one, so I'll just go ahead and agree.
I'm pleased to hear it.
So I've been asking people about how they wound up here trying to find a pattern, and
Interesting. I'm not sure why you're telling me, but you've come to the right person. Did you find a pattern then? Yes. What else? That's what else?
and this one.
It's as I feared. I think I understand what poor Livia has been going through. Let me ask you this. Did you happen to encounter a stranger in the forest before you arrived here?
I did, a young woman.
And did you happen to catch her name?
Karen.
I see. And was this Karen by any chance wearing a hood?
She was wearing a hoodie.
Because I've seen her before. There's something I think you should see.
Alright. This one's on 1 foot.
Hey, Virgil, how much would you want to make me a bow?
For the last time, Daisies, I'm not making you
I also couldn't hear. Really?
All right, you're here. You were asking how I knew the young woman you met by the river was wearing a hood. Here, look down at the bottom of the baths. It's a little hard to make out in this light. If only we could see. Oh, what a marvelous lamp. But do you see it? Somebody waking up by a river in a forest to find a hooded figure with a coin. It's just as you described it, only your pronunciation is a little off. The name you heard wasn't Karen. It was C-H-A-R-O-N, as in
The ferryman of the
Charon,
dead.
the ferryman of the dead. Charon, who in exchange for the right coin, helps the souls of the newly deceased cross the Styx, the river that separates the land of the living from the land of the dead.
When I dragged you out of the river, I thought you were never gonna wake up. I checked your pockets for ID, but all I found was some loose change. Feels like I've spent my whole life in a dead-end job with an endless commute. Sorry if I sounded cagey, it's just that I don't always get the best reactions when I introduce myself. My name's Karen.
I'm so sorry, my friend. I'm so sorry. I take it you know what this means.
this place is the underworld.
I'm afraid so. It's all starting to make sense. All these people whose last memory was running from the fires toward the river. It seems none of them escaped with their lives after all. Perhaps we should be grateful they don't remember their final moments. It also tells us that the Golden Rule is the work of Pluto, the god of the underworld, and why his epithet has always been Father of Riches. I know it's a lot to take in, and you look as if you have questions, so I'll try to answer them if I can.
Well, we spoke to Livia, so we pretty much knew. So I mean, there's only so many ways you can take bloodless shadows, you know? So we're dead, huh?
That was my first thought too. In the old stories, the underworld was where the souls of the deceased were taken. But it was also possible for the living to reach it without dying, if they were particularly fearless. So I'm afraid I don't know.
So what can you tell me about Karen?
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you're not from here. If you were Roman, or even Greek, you would know these stories. Each of them is slightly different, whether the storyteller was Plato, Homer, Virgil, or Ovid. But they always involved the souls of the dead meeting a grim ferryman named Charon on the bank of a river. It was said that he'd help the new arrival cross, only if they could pay him with a coin, an obol. That's why it was once our custom to bury our loved ones with a coin in their mouths. Charon's obol, we called it. Of course, an obol was a kind of Greek coin, because we inherited this knowledge from the Greeks. The only difference is that they spelled it with a kappa, which I suppose means Kharon, is closer to the original spelling.
Okay. Sure, it's as good a question as any. Why didn't you all recognize Karen immediately?
To be fair, the ferryman isn't exactly as the poets described, and he, she, they seem to appear to different people in different guises. You say you saw a young woman named Karen with a hood, and I once heard Kabash mention a stranger in a ram headdress.
Haven't met
named
Kabash
Kirti.
yet.
And Rufius described meeting a stranger named Kumut Tabal wearing an eagle headdress. But whatever form this stranger took, they were always wearing a hood of some sort, and their name always began with a K sound. I suspect the only way you'll solve this riddle is if your paths cross again.
Okay, but if this is the underworld, why are there so few people here?
Good question. Let's see. In the stories, Charon would always require a coin as payment for passage across the river, but that never made any sense to me. What does an ancient immortal being need with coins? In our case, it seems Charon didn't take the coins we had. He or she merely checked we had one in our possession. So, maybe there's something special about the coins each of us had on us. That might explain why we wound up here, but so many others did not.
I don't even see where this question would be coming from. Why would anyone even think she was trying? What? Frankly, I want to choose this just out of pure curiosity. And frankly, having a little bit more information wouldn't hurt. Of course, there's also the risk of hurting the actual relationship we have here. We'll not go with that one.
Now that we know where we are, we have to figure out what to do about it if we don't want to be cast into gold for eternity. We don't have much to go on, except the old stories. I remember 4 in particular about heroes in the underworld. Hercules, the demigod and son of Jupiter. Orpheus, a Thracian poet. Sisyphus, a king of Ephyra. And Aeneas, a Trojan hero. Hercules was able to leave the underworld because he cowed its god with his strength. Sisyphus and Orpheus both relied on their wits instead. They persuaded the goddess of the underworld, Proserpina, to help them escape. And finally, Aeneas was able to escape with the help of a spirit guide, who led him through a secret gate. So it seems you have 2 options: to confront the god of the underworld head-on, or find a way to escape with the help of Proserpina or some other guide.
Obviously not. You seem uncomfortable calling the god of the underworld by his name. Why?
All Romans try to avoid saying it, and the reason is quite simple. He might hear us. You may refer to him as Pluto, if you wish, but you'll only be calling attention to yourself. Do so at your own peril.
Understood. And he listens with their ears, so we should probably go out of our way to avoid actually mentioning him by name. Confronting Pluto head-on. I don't see that working out without facing down an army of golden statues. So tell me more about escaping with the help of Proserpina or a guide.
As I mentioned, both Orpheus and Sisyphus were said to have persuaded Proserpina to help them escape, and Aeneas was guided to the exit. The problem is, those are the stories of a poet, a self-aggrandizing king, and a brawler about their own heroic deeds, so they should be taken with a grain of salt. First, Proserpina. What we do know about her is, well, it's a grim tale. It's said the god of the underworld abducted and dragged her here against her will, forcing her into marriage.
So she might be willing to work against him to help us.
If the stories are true, then I suppose so. The problem is, how do we communicate with her without being noticed by her captor? Leaving that aside for a moment, there is also the possibility of a spirit guide. I don't suppose you've come across one of those in your travels?
I hear the female statues whispering to me every now and then.
Truly? And you're only bringing this up now?
Well, it's weird.
And again, I suppose you were worried I'd think you were as mad as Navia. Can you tell me more? Is it the same voice? What kinds of thing does it say?
It's always the same voice, and she's helpful, if a little cryptic. She did lead me to you, after all.
Fascinating. Perhaps she's a benevolent spirit. Or perhaps... Perhaps you're hearing the voice of Proserpina herself. If she has indeed been abducted, it would make sense for her to speak in cryptic whispers to avoid detection. Tell me, has she told you anything that might lead you to the way out?
Not yet, no.
Oh, I see. Well, let me know if you hear anything that might be a thread through this labyrinth.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a statue literally right next to and, well, right behind her, as a matter of fact. And while I don't think it's a good idea, knowledge is power, so tell me more about confronting Pluto head on.
Shh! Is everyone so blunt where you're from? Oh. That option would be the boldest, but also the only way to learn the truth about the Golden Rule, and maybe even put an end to it. As I said, Hercules managed to overpower the god of the underworld, but he was a demigod. Forgive my candor, but you are no Hercules.
Well, Hercules also couldn't manipulate time, so there's that.
Are you telling me that you can? I won't pretend to understand exactly what that means, But if that's true, then perhaps you stand a chance. So, if you want to confront him, I'll help you as much as I can. Who knows? Perhaps your name will be uttered in the same sentence as Hercules one day. But first, you'd need an audience with you-know-who, and for that, you'll need to enter the great temple overlooking the city. The problem is, the door has been sealed shut for as long as I've lived here, and there doesn't even seem to be a keyhole. I suspect the answer lies in the desecrated obelisk in front of it. I'm not sure if you noticed, but there are 4 plaques missing from its base. It looks as though somebody, or a series of somebodies, forcibly removed them, and in doing so, dishonored and angered our divine keeper. If you could recover and replace all 4 of those missing plaques, I imagine he might be willing to receive an audience again.
Interesting. Can you tell me about the obelisk?
It's the towering stone monument with 4 sides and a pyramid-shaped head that stands before the great temple, a dedication to the god of this place. You'll find them all over Rome, but of course they were looted from Egypt many years ago. It seems one of them made its way here too, although how is a mystery. However, this one is unusual in that each of the 4 sides is decorated in a different style: Roman, Greek, Egyptian, and another I don't recognize. That means you'll need to recover 4 different plaques: Roman, Greek, Egyptian, and a 4th, a mystery plaque.
Where would I even go about finding these? Starting with the Roman plaque.
Good question. To answer that, we first need to ask who would have defaced the obelisk in the first place. It would have had the god's name engraved into it, so it may be that whoever desecrated it wanted that name to be forgotten. And there's only one group of people I know of who might want to do that. There's a cult in Rome that often argued there is only one true god. Theirs, of course. They've been known to start fires, as well as deface religious monuments whose existence challenged their beliefs.
WeArEuS would
If I
probably
were you,
know.
I'd go looking for them. Of course, they've all been in hiding since the fire last year, so finding them won't be easy. But I did hear a rumor they have a secret shrine somewhere in the city. Perhaps, if you could find that, you might be able to recover the Roman plaque.
As a matter of fact, I happen to know where I can find that shrine. Now, I have forgotten the exact location, but I do know where the note is that can lead me to it. So yeah, it's definitely WeArEuS and Octavia that are part of the cult. Apparently Malleolus too. So, Okay, anyway. Where would I go about finding the Greek plaque?
I don't know. But perhaps you should begin your search with the local Greek fellow, Georgius. His store is in the forum.
So where would I find the Egyptian plaque?
Perhaps Kabash, our Egyptian resident, will be able to tell us. Unfortunately, he disappeared weeks ago. But I did hear Aurelia is peddling rumors about him at the tavern, so perhaps you could talk to her, or just take a look in his room.
Alright, and do you have any ideas about the mystery plaque?
I'm afraid you're on your own with that one, but perhaps the goddess will help guide you to it when the time is right.
So if I find the other 3 first. Okay. Alright. I'm ready to get started.
Alright. I would suggest not discussing this with anyone. The best we can do for them is to let them remain oblivious for as long as possible. As for Livia, it seems she's been shouldering the weight of this terrible secret all this time. Perhaps it would comfort her to know she's not alone.
Alright, first I'm going to have a chat with Livia.
In any case, time is of the essence. so you'd best begin. May Fortuna guide you, although you may not need her with Proserpina on your side.
I'm going to give her a head start and let her get out of here first. Yeah, so this is marked. We'll go talk to Livia. I want to squeeze in another task before we end the video. I'm not sure what, but wait against the current it is. Give her a little more time. Just so no one goes about asking questions about why we were both in here. So the first person we need to talk to is Livia. Is there a shortcut to her, maybe? We need to hurry up before night falls. And frankly, WeArEuS... I keep forgetting how to pronounce the name of Malleolis's bodyguard. So, we know who the three cultists are. We could probably tell Cynthius and have them rounded up. But there's no real proof that they are what they are. What? Can I just... Oh. Okay. Just gonna retreat, just for now. I would love to sprint in here so I would waste less time, but yeah. The game and my computer are not having that. I figured it out. I know where we are.
Say it. Speak its name.
The underworld.
Then it is true. I was right.
You were.
I thought I saw it, but when the rest of them could not, I kept thinking I must have gone insane. I had to tell myself it was true over and over again, until I wasn't sure if I was deceiving myself. I must apologize if my words seem cryptic. I'd found comfort in reciting the Metamorphoses by our great poet Ovid. He gives such an uncanny description of this place. I cannot help but wonder if he himself came here. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah.
I will do my best to remember the relevant verse. There is a downward path, gloomy with fatal yew trees. It leads through dumb silence to the infernal regions. The sluggish Styx exhales vapor, and by that way, the shadows of the newly dead descend, entombed with full rites, and the ghosts of those, at last, given proper burial. The wide, thorny waste is cold and pallid, and the newly arrived shades are ignorant of the road that leads to the Stygian city, where Black Dis has his cruel palace. As the ocean accepts the rivers of all the world, so this place accepts all the souls, and is never too small for any populace, nor notices the crowds that come. There the bloodless shadows wander without flesh or bone, Some crowd the forum, some the house of the ruler of the depths. Others follow their trades, imitating their previous lives. And still others incur punishment. I hope I have done it justice, and now we share a secret. It's as if you've lifted a great burden from my shoulders. Thank you, friend. I think I should rest.
Well, I appreciate you telling me all of that with your back turned to me. Okay, so while we're here, I want to figure out where Kabash's room is. Gross. Alright, no distractions. Find Kabash's room. This is not Kabash's room. Virgil. Upstairs, maybe? A large vat for brewing beer. There's a layer of small insects drowning on the surface, because of course no one knows what a lid is. WeArEuS' chest is locked. Small vial containing rudimentary perfume made from flowers and oil. The brass has been polished into a rudimentary mirror which has been used for applying makeup. I am curious why her chest is locked. You know, it wouldn't be stealing to just take it over there and use it. I wonder if I can just pick something up. No. I was hoping holding E would allow me to pick something up and just move around with it. But I guess the key has to actually enter my inventory first, so it's kind of
I
not...
love your clothes. So exotic.
I like the way you polish the pole. It's weird and ineffective. I don't wish to talk to her just yet. I need to find
Handsome.
Kabash's room. This is not Kabash's room. This is WeArEuS. Ah. There's a note on the floor in here. There's no chest, though. Note from Kabash. Okay. we'll have to read it this way then. From Kabosh to Kabosh. I told Lucretia about the dreams I've been having, and she said it might help her to divine their meaning if I wrote them down. It happened again last night. The man by the river was there, as always, his face shrouded in shadow from that peculiar ram headdress. Once again he introduced himself as Curdy and told me he'd dragged me from the river. He seemed to smirk as he said his name as if it meant something as if it meant something I couldn't understand. Indeed, the name rings a bell, but I cannot for the life of me remember where I heard it. I do not think I will sleep soundly again until I know. Who is Curdy? So he'd been having dreams about the ferryman of the dead. And this is Rufus's room. Interesting. So, we are short on time. So let's wrap this up for today. We now know at least part of the secret to this place. We are currently in the underworld. And these people here, maybe possibly even including ourselves, would be the souls of the dead. Now, apparently someone has defaced Pluto's, let's call it shrine. They've defaced the obelisk that stood before his shrine, so I'm guessing it's weird though. The rule couldn't have come after the defacement, because there were already people here and people who were already turned to gold. So the rule had to be in place all the time. But why? Why such a strict rule in a place where whatever people do doesn't matter? I guess that's another one of the things we'll have to find out later. So, we know all of this. Problem is, we're still severely impacted by the presence of the Golden Rule. And what we know is that the frick is his name? Do we have it in here, maybe? Oh, right. The priestess did mention Navia. I don't know if I haven't found another way into the palace yet, but I also haven't actually spent any time looking into it. The priestess is someone who we've got to talk to every time we come back. At least to let her know that everything that we know. Right. We also have to deal with Malleolus, who is apparently a cultist and is one of the people who, maybe one of the people who is responsible for burning down part of Rome. we've also got to look for these plaques. But it might be a while before we even get to that part. Most importantly, we've got to stop Malleolus and the election. If we can prevent that, that should buy us more time. That's the most important part, so I know what we need to do next episode. And hopefully you guys will come along on the journey despite the terrible frame rate that we get playing this game. I know that may be an issue for a lot of people. I hate it. I really do, and there's not a thing I can do about it because I turned down the settings to low. It still stutters. I turned it up to high. It's barely playable. So this is what I get. I can't be bothered to get another computer right now because that business is expensive and I don't have the money for that. So I make do. And hopefully you guys can as well. Hope you have enjoyed yourselves and everything you've seen here. And so with all that said, we will see you in the underworld next time.